Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome for joining this session on STP solutions for Reckon Partners. My name is John Gajewski and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Reckon, and I'll be guiding you through the various options across our products that we have. Before we get started, just a warning that what we're presenting today is of a general nature and is for guidance only. Reckon does not provide professional or taxation advice, and viewers are encouraged to consult with a professional advisor for advice on their special circumstances. Just some housekeeping. The audio for this session has been your phone has been muted, but you can ensure that you're hearing properly by clicking the sound check button on the right-hand side. We will be taking questions throughout the presentation on our specialist site, www.slido.com. The event code there is STP19, and just click on join. We'll answer the questions at the end of the presentation. When you're typing in your question, if it's been asked before, rather than ask it again, just like it, and we'll keep a tab of how many people are interested in which questions, and we'll answer the questions in order of popularity at the end of the presentation. You can minimize the panel on the right-hand side by clicking the orange arrow, and then to expand it again, just click the orange arrow again to bring it back. This webinar is also being recorded, so you'll be able to pick it up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Reckon Limited, as well as it'll be available on the Training Academy. So for today, we'll be looking at signing up for GovConnect STP and setting up your multi-factor authentication. We'll look at the key information to prepare in your company file or book, how to share your Reckon GovConnect with other users, where to find your software ID and how to register it to the ATO, and finally to consider some common error messages we've seen and how to fix them, and direct you to some STP resources on the web. So to be ready for STP, what you really need to do is sign up for our STP product, Reckon GovConnect STP. It's for free. You do need to make sure you're on our latest products for Reckon Accounts Hosted 2018 and Reckon Accounts Desktop 2018 and later. Most of you are probably on the current versions, so you should be okay there. Register your GovConnect software ID to the ATO, and finally learn how to export the files from Reckon software and upload them to GovConnect STP. So STP started the beginning of this financial year for employers over 20 employees. Now it's for everyone, starting from the 1st of July. There are some category of people that have been allowed deferrals, so please talk to your accountants and the ATO whether your client fits into those fits into that category, and exactly what those deferrals are. There are different sets. To handle STP, Reckon has created Reckon GovConnect STP, and this additional program links into all our products that handle payroll. That's Reckon One, Reckon Accounts Desktop, Reckon Accounts Hosted, and Payroll Premier. What you'll see is a table of previous submissions, and with the top line being reserved for the latest submission. Things that have been accepted by the ATO have got submitted on them. Those waiting to be processed will have draft. So Reckon GovConnect STP is free for all to use. You just need to create the Reckon portal account on portal.reckon.com. It's our own product and opens independently, and it links into those products, to our payroll products. So to look at the entire STP process, what are we looking at? Firstly, there's some overhead work. You need to create the GovConnect STP account. You need to enable and configure STP in your company file or book. When that's done, you then go ahead and do your pay runs as normal, and at the end of the pay run, then go ahead and create the export file, and that's the first additional step It's only a couple of clicks. And finally, to go into Reckon GovConnect STP to review your payroll and then submit to the ATO. So looking at creating the GovConnect STP and your multi-factor authentication. Reckon One users already have a portal account. Reckon accounts desktop and hosted may not. So go to portal.reckon.com and click on register for free to create your ID. There's no cost involved. You can use your own email address, or you can use a Gmail account or a Microsoft Office Outlook account. When you're on the portal, you'll see a screen here. You'll probably have an invitation for a 30-day trial if you're new. Otherwise, you'll see tiles for your existing books in Reckon One. Just click on Add Product and select Reckon GovConnect to create the GovConnect account. You will be led into setting up multi-factor authentication. Now, this is something that's been mandated by the ATO to ensure security about the people processing the information and sending it to the ATO. So it is something that's on the user level. So every user to GovConnect must be authenticated. So don't share your MFA code, always get every user to create their own. Having created a authentication on one device, you can't use that authentication on another device. So if you're using it on your smartphone, you can't try to use that on your PC. If at some stage you need to delete your authentication on your device, please get in touch with us. We'll revoke the connection to STP, and then you can go ahead and delete the Authenticator app. Now, for this multi-factor authentication, there are 3 ways you can do that. You can do it via a simple SMS text, much like you get so many features from banks and other websites today. You can use a special Google Authenticator for your smartphone. And if you're still preferring to work on your desktop and through browsers, you can get a Google Authenticator extension for the Chrome browser. So let's have a look at the SMS feature first. And this is the one that Reckon will offer you first off. So if you're to use the SMS feature, just go ahead and enter your phone number, click on the send code button to get a code, and enter the digit in the final field. If you don't want to use SMS and want to go to the Google Authenticator, just click the link at the bottom and continue on. So after you finish this page, just click on verify, and you're in. With the Google Authenticator, firstly, you'll need to download the Google Authenticator app from your App Store, Google Play or the Apple Store. You'll get this screen here, and you'll just need to open the Google Authenticator to scan the QR code, and a number will be generated, which you can enter into the field and verify to finish. For a desktop browser, it is an extension, so you'll need to go to the Chrome Web Store, search for Authenticator, and download it and install it. What you'll see is it'll appear as a little icon in the top right corner. It just happens to look like the QR code. So when you enter GovConnect, you'll be prompted for the MFA, and you just go into your browser, click on the Google Authenticator icon, scan the code. When you get the number, just enter it into the field. So when you're fully authenticated, you'll be asked to set a recovery PIN. We'll talk about it a bit later on, but just in case things go wrong, you lose your device or it's not working properly and you need to revoke or set it up on a new device, this is your recovery pin that you'll need to reset things. So just every time you enter GovConnect, you'll be prompted for multi-factor authentication. So just go through the process, enter in your 6-digit code, and you'll slip into the GovConnect portal homepage. When you start off, you'll have an invitation to get started in setting up what we call the STP entity. So just click on Get Started, and you'll be taken through the steps to set it up. First, you'll be asked for your ABN number, a branch if there is one, enter in your legal name. Generally now, once you enter in the ABN number, it'll automatically source the name from the ABN register, and it'll populate your email address used for this login. So just click on Submit to complete that process. Then be asked to select which product you're using. Now, GovConnect can use all 4 products if you need to. So as a partner, you might have some clients on Reckon One, some on hosted, some on desktop, even Payroll Premier. You can tick all of them. So just tick the ones that are appropriate to your circumstances. And then you'll see GovConnect will open up, and you'll see a tile for each of your selections you made. The first step you need to do is just check your company and advisor info. Largely here is where you'll see the software ID. So this is the number you'll need to there should be a number in there. We'll see what happened there. There is a number there that you'll need to advise to the ATO. You can do that either through your Oz keys or by direct phone call to them. You'll also have an Add Advisor button. Here you can click on this to enter in the details if you're appointing an advisor, their registered agent ABN and other contact details, and click Submit, and you'll be able to review them, the things that you've entered, and if there's a need to adjust, just click on Edit and make the adjustments. This will allow the advisor to submit the STP on a client's behalf. Just sign the declaration, and you're all set up. Now, once an entity has been set up, a user can share this STP entity to another person. So as a partner, you'd want your client to set up the STP and share it to you. So just very much like in Reckon One, just click on the 3 dots and select Add User, Share with User. Add in their username or email address ID and see them added to the list of users. When an entity is shared to you, you won't see it on your main home screen. You'll only see entities you've created, but if you click on Shared with Me, you'll see tiles for every STP entity shared to you. To delete a sharing, just click on the 3 dots again, and against the person you want to unshare, just click on the trash can. So that sort of completes the setup stage of Reckon GovConnect, and it's all now ready to be used. The next stage we need to do is look inside our product and make any configurations or any switch-ons that are necessary for the STP process. For those who joined the seminar, joined the webinar after its start, we are taking questions throughout on our special question site, www.slido.com. Just type in the event code STP19 and click Join. And we'll look at the questions at the end of the session. Now let's have a look at Reckon accounts, both for hosted and desktop. The first thing we need to do here is to enable single touch payroll. So if you just go into edit preferences and then come down to payroll and employees, we have a single touch payroll checkbox that needs to be ticked. You should then go to the company information section on the top menu line, company and company information, and in the legal field, make sure you've got the correct details here. Now, with STP, we are dealing with the ATO, and they do cross-check a lot of things back to their own records. So it's really important that we pay attention here to every little single detail. So crossing T's, dotting I's is a good way to go. Here, a particularly legal name, make sure you have the name entered exactly as it appears on your ABN register. In the contact information section, the company name, that can be your trading name, but here under the legal name, it should correspond with your ABN register. Make sure your tax rego ID is correct, and if you've got a special branch assigned, enter that in as well. You do need to enter this payroll tax form information, the contact person and phone numbers and titles. Next, you should pay attention to some fields in the employee setup. Make sure their names and addresses are all correct. But in their address and contact information, the email field, it's not a compulsory field, but make sure whatever's entered there is a valid email address. If it's not in a valid format, it can make the STP report fail. In the employment info, we do need to enter in an employee number that's been mandated by the ATO. So if you're not already using numbers, just create yourself a sequence and follow it through progressively. Finally, the way allowances are handled were changed in at the beginning of the 18-19 financial year. So it's worthwhile checking, particularly if you are upgrading from an older version file, that your allowances have been adjusted for the new categories that the ATO has indicated. These are all the sort of categories that will appear on the payment summary. So unless your allowance falls into one of these categories, they need to go to other. By default, a upgrade process will put general allowances into another category, so you may have to reassign them to if it's appropriate to one of these categories. Okay, in Reckon 1, what we need to do in Reckon 1 is just ensure that we have the correct legal name field. So if we just go into your settings and into your book settings, make sure we having under the general details, we have the legal company name. The company name field can be your trading name, but the legal name field must be the one that corresponds with your ABN number. And then in the allowances, again, make sure you're using the correct allowances. And with the employee record, again, the same fields in there in details, just make sure the email field does contain a properly formatted email address or is blank. Oh, and as well, let's not forget that under employment info, you should be able to go in and enter in an employee number. So if you're not already using one, just create yourself a sequence and continue on with it. In Payroll Premier, again, fairly easily, just need to go into company information, and in the name field, make sure we've got the correct legal name for company name. The email field for the employee does contain a properly formatted email or is blank. And under the company tab, the employee number has a number entered. Just have an eye on the allowances that they do correspond to the current structure instructed by the ATO. So now that we've have our books and files properly configured, we can now go ahead and do our payroll as normal. No change to the way you do your payroll, and it's at the end of the payroll that the additional STP steps come in. For those who joined late on this webinar, we are taking questions throughout on our specialist site, www.slido.com. Just enter in the code STP19 and ask your questions there, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So, having completed your payroll, you now need to create the information for GovConnect. So now with Reckon Accounts under Employees, you will see a new option, Process Single Touch Payroll. If you don't see that option, that means you haven't turned it on in the payroll and employee preferences. So just go back into edit preferences and tick the Single Touch Payroll box. What you'll see is the single touch payroll lodgement screen. In the pay run, the last pay run will be picked up, but you can change this to any payroll, and then you'll see all the employees that were included in that pay run with their employee number. So just tick off all of those to be included and click on Lodge. Now you'll notice on that lodgement form there are a couple of checkboxes across the top for different types of pay events. The programs is already configured to prepare the information as a normal pay event. If you're doing something else, a full file replacement to correct some sort of error or update events or final pay events, you will need to select the appropriate boxes. A comment about terminated employees. They're required to be their final pay is required to be marked as a final pay event. Now, our programs have been changed to mark their final pay as a final pay event and include them with the other employees on a normal pay event in the same pay run. So there's nothing more you actually need to do when you're processing a terminating an employee, because the program has done it for you, included in what you normally do. So you just go through and process your pays through to GovConnect STP in the normal manner. It's in GovConnect STP that you'll be able to open up the detail and see that indeed that terminated employee is marked as final, unlike the others where I just set as normal. We'll show you that later on. With Reckon Accounts, both hosted and desktop, the information is not processed, is not integrated in directly with GovConnect. So it is saved to a file, and we'll need to upload this file to GovConnect later. So with desktop, simply save it to a convenient location on your local PC. But with hosted, the file will be saved to your Q drive. You can give it a so you'll be prompted to give it a name. Its basic format is STP- and the date, and the file extension is JSON. So save it to your Q drive, and then you'll need to go through with the floating toolbar and go do a download from hosted to your local PC. So go into your Q drive, highlight your export file, and click open, and it'll download to your downloads folder on your local PC. With the desktop, when you go to save the file, it'll default to the natural path for Reckon Accounts export files. You can use that there under STP files, or you can just find an easy location on your PC. When you've done that, you will be prompted to launch Reckon GovConnect. In Payroll Premier, under Reports, it's just to go, you'll see Single Touch Payroll and Process STP Reports. You will see a table with your pay run and their names. So just look for the green box to confirm that they are valid, and then you can just click on export. And the file will be saved to the export folder of your current version programs file in C drive. Reckon One's a little easier because it is fully integrated with GovConnect. What does that mean? That because it's got a direct API connectivity, lodgements when they're completed in Reckon One automatically appear in GovConnect. So in Reckon One, we just merely go to our payroll options and we'll see the option there for single touch payroll. We just click on that, select our pay, and we will see a line for each employee contained in that pay. At the top, you'll see Send to GovConnect, and in most cases, you just need to just click on that and it'll make the information available in GovConnect for a normal pay run. If it's a different type of submission you're doing, just click the down arrow and make your selection from things like full file replacement or send market update. If you are sending as an update, you'll find that the employee record will have a tick in the update box. Click on Send to GovConnect, you will find a message will come up to say that the information has been sent, and you'll have a button there to directly launch GovConnect. So when you click on GovConnect, just a word for those who joined late, if you've got a question to ask, please go to our specialist site, www.slido.com, and join our event there and ask a question, and we'll look at it at the end of the session. Whenever you enter GovConnect, you'll be immediately asked to authenticate. So enter in your 6-digit code that you get, and you'll then enter into the GovConnect desktop. For Reckon accounts, desktop and hosted, and for Payroll Premier, you won't see the latest information. What you'll need to do is just click on the upload button, and you'll be asked for where is your JSON file. Firstly, the first question you'll be asked is what sort of a report type. So the two options are either it's a new pay run or a full file replacement, or the other one, it's an update event. By default, it's the new pay full file replacement that is selected. Then just go to your local PC and find the location where your file is at and select it. The file will come into your dashboard, and you can either then just click on Submit All, or just click on Detail to see some more information about what you're going to send. This is one of the unique features of GovConnect STP. It does allow you to see information before the information that you are actually going to send to the ATO. And you can see it on two levels, as we see here, the components of the pay run by employee. So you'll have a line for every employee. This one just happened to have just one employee. And if you want to see more details for this one employee, just click on Details. And you'll actually see the record for this employee. But anytime you're ready to submit, just click on your Submit button, and that will go off to the ATO. You'll be asked for your digital signing, so complete that. And you'll return to the dashboard, where now you will see the tag ATO status pending. This is normal. What the ATO does is takes a two-step process. First, it accepts the upload of your file, and that's what it's recognizing here. Secondly, it'll go through and check that file, and when it's verified that it's all correct, it'll send back a success message. In Reckon 1, when you open up your dashboard, you will see your last pay run already there in draft format. No need to upload files. To see the detail, just click on Detail, and you should see the components of this pay run by employee, one line for every employee, and just click on Detail to see more information. So that's it. That completes the entire process from setting it up, a bit of overhead work required there, doing your pay run as normal, and when that normal pay run is done, to do the extra few steps to send that off to the ATO. And if you want to actually view the information before you send it, you have the option to do so. If you follow the steps here, you should find that it should work fairly smoothly for you. But a number of errors have come up over time. We'll just go through a couple of the more common ones. Firstly, if you've lost your device and you need to revoke your MFA, you can do so on the portal home screen. If you just go to Reckon GovConnect and then click on the profile icon, this little human up here in the top right-hand corner, and down at the bottom of the screen, you'll have the multi-factor authentication section where you can just click on Revoke to revoke your MFA. You will be asked for your recovery PIN, so make sure that you have recorded your recovery PIN in a safe place so you can put that number in. Okay, you might have this message when you open up your GovConnect desktop, fail to save pay run event data. This information is likely to come up when you have a corrupt export file, largely due to maybe the use of an invalid character. The big culprit there seems to be using quotation marks, particularly double quotation marks. So try to avoid double quotation marks, and in fact try to avoid any quotation marks at all. Another common one we've seen is when you're submitting a pay event file to the ATO, you get this very long error saying instance payroll event, payroll details. All this information there tends to point to where the error lies. So look at these fields that it makes reference to. Generally, this sort of error will come up when you're submitting a pay event file to the ATO as a new pay run or a full file replacement rather than just a moment, something doesn't add up on this one.
Yep. So this is when a pay event is submitted, is selected as full file replacement when it's actually not a full file replacement.
Right. Okay. Yes, that's right. I've got Rav here with me to help me out with the questions. Yeah, just what this actually means is that the pay event type in GovConnect must be correctly selected for the type of pay event that you created in your Reckon Accounts program. So make sure that you do select the right category. So just go back. The solution is go back, create the STP file again, and re-upload it using the correct categories. I'll talk to you about that later. Now, unable to create subscription with STP when you're trying to enter in your ABN and legal company name at the very start. Now, this is a problem that will come up if your ABN number has already been used in another STP entity. Our system will only allow an ABN number to be ever associated with one STP entity. So you'll need to ask where is this number how has this one's been used? Quite commonly, people are testing things out firstly and not aware that they've actually gone to the next step and created the entity. So you'll need to go in and deactivate any other entity that was created. Another reason why that might happen is that your Reckon portal, the name in your Reckon portal is not complete. So just check that by going back here into your profile icon here and just checking your details here and making sure your first name, last names are all correct as they should be. Sometimes when you enter in your code for your MFA, you find you get the message saying, please type correct code, and you check it and it is the correct one. This is an error that's likely to occur when your mobile device's timing system is not in sync with the Google server timing system. Now, the way to bring the two in line will vary depending what sort of device that you have. With Android devices, you need to go into the Authenticator menus, select Settings, and select the option Time Correct for Codes. With an Apple device, you actually do this in your Apple device settings, go to General and reselect your date and time settings. And that should bring the two back in line and allow you to go forward. Another error message that seems to come up often is invalid company information provided. Your solution here is to go back into your product, go to your company information area and the legal name, and ensure that we have all the correct information for legal name, for legal address, for your tax rego, for your tax file number, and any other details there. And then create the STP file again and submit it up to GovConnect. Another one that comes up, the requested ID is valid, but the pull request is yet to be queued. What does that mean? What it's indicating is that the ATO servers are experiencing extended processing times. So our system for transmitting the information has not got a response back in its expected time frame and is flagging that there might be an error. So in these situations, if they're just processing times, just check back a little later and you should see that the status is updated. How can you edit the company information on Reckon GovConnect? Well, that information actually comes in from your programs itself, Reckon Accounts and Payroll Premier. So you need to go back to those programs and check the company information area, make sure the details are correct, and then resubmit to GovConnect, and those fields will update. There's just some more of the more common ones. There are others in there, so you should check our knowledge base because we have written a number of notes on various issues as they've come up. So if you just go to kb.reckon.com.au and then search for STP, you'll get various notes come up. There are lots of other single touch payroll resources for your use. One very good one is the Reckon Help Center, help.reckon.com. There is one for the customer portal in setting up the STP entity, and there are STP sections inside each of the product options as well. We do have a single touch payroll resources screen. There you'll find a lot of facts, FAQs, up and coming recording webinars, and other useful information. And finally, if your clients do need more help, contact yourselves, find the Reckon partner. So partnersearch.reckon.com is something end users can use to find you. There are resources on the Reckon Academy as well as on our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Reckon Limited. You'll find help there under Single Touch Payroll, as well as in the playlists for the various products. There will be various videos there as well. So that completes the presentation. So what we'll do is we'll just have a look at some of the questions that have been asked during the session. To help me, I've got our community manager, Rav Singh, and together we'll slowly go through the questions. So just
STP 19.
there we go. Where do I go? Okay, we've got one question. With final pays, with casual employees, what happens if they don't cease employment as such? Perhaps they take a week off sick, but then don't come back. With casual employees, their nature of work is that their only legal time with you is the hours they actually spend working. So with casual employees, there isn't a need to do a final pay on those employees. So you never terminate an employee. There is no need to mark a pay as final pay. At the end of the financial year, we are creating a new function inside our programs called Finalise Year. One, to handle the need to send through to the ATO all your employees that you've employed in that year with the tag final pay event for that financial year. This program will actually give you the chart. It will show you all the employees you've paid in that financial year, and that will include all your current employees, employees you terminated during the year, even if they were terminated before you started the STP reporting, as well as include any casuals in there. So everyone who was paid in that financial year will appear on the screen for you to select and include in a special run you'll do after you've done your final pays, to tag the final pay event for your business for these employees for this financial year. I'll give a question on something else. Okay, we've just had another question come in. Do STP have to be lodged on the day that the pay run occurs? Rav, could you answer this one for us, please?
Thanks, John. So what we've been advised is that STP pay events need to be lodged on the pay date, so on the pay date or before. So you don't need, try not to leave it after that date, but pay date or on the pay date or before is when you need to submit pay events. For anyone else in attendance at the moment, if you'd like to ask a question, just head to slido.com, that's slido.com, and just put in the code STP19, and you'll be able to ask a question there.
Okay, continuing on this last question, we are being asked, what about the situation when we're closing down for the holidays and we process pays in advance to be paid next week and the week after? In those situations, the instruction is really that you report STP to the ATO the day you prepare them. So even if you're setting up a pay run today to be paid next week, next fortnight, when that's prepared, you report to the STP. You report through STP to the ATO. The STP has to be reported no later than the day the employee receives the pay. It can be updated at any time before that. So with closing down over Christmas periods, or you're away and you're the only person who does the pays, and you set things up for forward payment, then once you've prepared it, lodge it. Do you lodge all those pays on one day? Yes, because each STP report has its own ID, which is linked to the pay start date and the pay end date and the date paid. So there's no confusion which report relates to what pay. That will sort itself out. So process your pays when you need to, and immediately report them to the ATO. And I hope you've seen from this presentation that the STP reporting is structured to occur over a couple of clicks after you pay. So that's the most efficient time to be reporting. Are there any other common questions that come up for you, Rav?
So one of the more common questions that we get from more so end users is around the software ID. So particularly with Reckon Accounts Hosted, some of you may be aware that Reckon Accounts Hosted has its own software ID within it. Just one thing to note is that Reckon Gov Connect, so the STP entity that you set up in Reckon Gov Connect, has its own software ID, and that's found in the company and advisors section. I'm sure we went over this in the webinar earlier, but just a point to note is that software ID needs to be registered with the ATO prior to any STP pay events being submitted through to Gov Connect. If an STP pay event is submitted without a software ID being registered, or sorry, without the software ID from GovConnect being registered, it will result in an error. And I believe the error message at the top of my head is something along the lines of, please contact the tax office, the software ID needs to be registered, something along those lines, something of that nature. It's pretty clear about in the error message what needs to be done. So it's just something to be aware of, and just something to keep note of. If there are any more questions, we'll probably hang around for a minute or so longer. Just slido.com with the code STP1919. Okay, can you register the same software ID with different clients? So the software ID is unique to that particular STP entity. So for example, you might have one Reckon portal account and then 3, 4, 5 STP entities within that one Reckon portal account. Each of those STP entities will have its own software ID. So each of the software IDs will need to be registered with the ATO. They are unique across across STP entities.
Thanks, Rav. I wonder if you can help me out with this one. I'm being asked from time to time whose job it is to register the software ID in a situation where I've shared my entity to my bookkeeper or my accountant. Do I, the end user, need to report that software ID to the ATO, or can my appointed advisor do that?
So the best practice we have is that the client, so the authority of the ABN, the client needs to register the software ID with the ATO. Okay, we've just had another question pop up. Can the authentication code be sent to a generic office email address or just text? So the authentication, the MFA authentication codes, we've got a few methods. Email is not one of them. So it needs to be sent. So the authentication methods are Google Authenticator, text message, and that's probably the easiest one, or a browser-based authenticator. So that's a Chrome extension. So the easiest method is having it on your mobile phone, since it comes with you everywhere, and it's and using the text message option. If you have more than one person in the business who looks after payroll, and you need them to have access to your STP entity, you need to share that entity with them. They'll have their own Reckon portal account, they'll have their own MFA, and you can share that existing STP entity with them, and they will be able to submit STP pay events as well. Now, MFA is on a individual per user basis, so it can't be shared, and there's no sort of one generic place it can go. It's per user.
Okay, the next question is, does STP also advise super to ATO? STP replaces the payment summary, and it reports whatever was on the old payment summary is now contained in the STP. The only super that's reported on that STP is super salary sacrifice and additional employee amounts that appear as RESC. That does get reported in the STP, but it doesn't record the amount of super you paid to the employee under the super guarantee. That you still process and report that the way it has also always been done. Just a quick reminder, STP replaces payment summary. That's all it's doing. Next question is, so what if our payroll officer is on leave? Well, I think we covered that a bit earlier, is whoever's processing the pays needs to report STP. So if you've got a secondary officer to replace your normal payroll officer when he's on leave, that person must have access to the STP entity and must be independently authenticated. Alternatively, if you're in a situation where you can program the payment ahead of time, then the payroll officer can prepare the pays ahead of time, and as they're prepared, report them to the ATO at that time. Okay, next question is, I have a client that splits payroll for payment over 2 days. Can I submit on second day paid? The instruction there, I think, Rav can correct me here, is that you need to report the pays on the day you process them. So if you process them over 2 days, you do 2 submissions. First one on day 1 and the second one on day 2. One thing you cannot do is report twice for the once employee for the same pay period. So I assume that I assume you're referring to that on these 2 days, no employee will be paid on both days. They'll only be employed on one. They'll be paid on one of those days, but not on both. So it's quite fine to send an STP report on day 1 for the employees paid on day 1, and a second STP report on day 2 for the employees paid on day 2. We'll just leave it go for another minute for any other questions to be asked. It's coming close to our end, so if there won't be any questions, we'll finish off in about a minute's time. Sorry, did we answer the super question? The only need to report anything to do with super in the STP report is for RESC. Any other types of super is not reported to the ATO. The STP report replaces the payment summary. It doesn't replace any processing of super. So that continues. You continue to send your files, payment files, to the super clearing gateways for payment to the employee super funds. Should we leave it there? Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your attendance today. If you do have further questions, you can email them to us at training@reckon.com and we'll get an answer back to you. And just a reminder that a copy of this webinar will be available both on the Reckon YouTube channel as well as on the Reckon Academy. So feel free to go back to those sources and go through this presentation again. Thank you very much.